Falcons Nation, NFL fans. It's your boy Jew coming at you guys with another Tuesday night's live show. I hope you guys are having a great week or a blessed week so far. Of course, we got a lot to talk about. Our Atlanta Falcons did kick off the season 0-1, and we're looking to go 1-0 this week. As we know, we have the Minnesota Vikings is our next game in Minnesota, which is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. That Minnesota Vikings fan base is one of the best fan bases in the NFL. We will be on national television, Sunday Night Football, so don't get no better than this. Michael Penix going up against J.J. McCarthy. Both of those guys did play in the national title game 2 seasons ago when Michigan was able to beat Michael Penix and his Washington Huskies team in the national championship. So this will be their first matchup in the NFL as starting quarterbacks. So it should be very intriguing, very interesting. Before I get into my thoughts for this upcoming game and give my preview, I want to say what's up to a couple of you guys and gals that may have joined me already. So first off, the first person I see in the chat is A137 Sauce. He says, "What up, Jew? What it do? I appreciate you joining me tonight. You're the first person. He was actually in the chat before the show, so I appreciate you showing love as always, and you being prompt and being on time. Shouts out to Georgia, Texas boy. He says, "What up, Jew, AFN, and Falcons family? The new era is here. The Atlanta Falcons will rise in 2025 and beyond." Most definitely. Yeah, I still believe in this team. I haven't pressed the panic button. And I just want to tell all of you Atlanta Falcons fans out there that may be disappointed with the start of 0-1, just relax. Be patient. This Falcons team, I really feel like it's not like the last couple Falcons teams we had. I still believe in this team. I'm super optimistic. There's not a panic bone in my body right now based off of what I seen in the first game. I saw a lot of things that I really, really liked in that first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm not concerned at all. Now, we can't take the Minnesota Vikings lightly because we have to take every game, play every game like it's our last. We have to play every game where you don't want to play down to competition. And Minnesota's sitting at 1-0 with their Monday night victory over the Chicago Bears. But like I said, I'm more encouraged than discouraged by what I saw in week one from this Atlanta Falcons team as a whole. Xavier Littman in the chat. What's going on with the red and black? I appreciate you joining me this evening as well. Make sure as you guys come in, y'all hit that like button for your boy. Make sure you share out this content, share out the live. If you would like to show love to the channel, you definitely can super chat. You definitely can send it to the Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. I appreciate all of you guys that donate to the channel, all of you guys that are members. Shouts out to the members of the channel. I have a lot of people that's been riding with me for a very long time. As far as the members and things of that nature that give to the channel each and every month. I believe it's like $1.99 and $2.99 for my membership. So if you would like to support the channel, monthly and things of that nature, become a member. If you're a member of my channel, you do get content control, meaning I'll do a video based off of your thoughts and things of that nature. If you have a video that you would like me to drop, members do get first dibs on videos and things of that nature and ideas for the channel. So definitely make sure you guys not only subscribe, but if you would like to be a part of my membership and support the channel, make sure you hit that tab on the membership button as well. But with that being said, I do want to jump right in to my thoughts on this game. As you know, like I mentioned, the Vikings are sitting at 1-0. The Falcons are sitting at 0-1. We will travel to Minnesota to play this Sunday night football game on Sunday night. And I really feel like this Falcons team going into this game, we have a lot to be encouraged about based off of what I've seen in the first game. I do have some question marks because tomorrow we should get an update on wide receiver Drake London's shoulder. He did have a shoulder injury at the end of our first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if he can't go in this game, that's going to be a huge loss for our Atlanta Falcons. Hopefully we can get back Darnell Mooney for this game, who missed the first game with a shoulder injury of his own. So hopefully we get him back because he is a guy that can open up things as far as deep down the field. He's a guy that's one of the better route runners in the NFL. One of those guys that can take the top off the defense. And if Drake London can't go, it would be good to have Darnell Mooney because at least we'll have one of our top two pass catchers. Now, if either one of those guys are not able to go in this game, Kyle Pitts, he stepped up in the first game and played really well, and he becomes the next guy that I'm looking. When you talk about the passing game, he can be that security blanket for Michael Penix against the Minnesota Vikings if Drake London is not able to go and if Darnell Mooney's still not ready to play. Now we do have some guys on the practice squad that we can also elevate. Guys like Chris Blair played really well during the preseason. He played in some live games last year. He's a guy that's been reliable. We know Cordell Hodge has been another guy that's been on this Falcons team for the last 2 to 3 years, and he always steps up when his number is called to play that wide receiver role. Had the game-winning touchdown last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But anytime his number is called, he's always ready to go. But we do have a lot of guys on the practice squad as well. I believe we kept Nick Nash, who we brought in, who won the Triple Crown in college football. He's another good route runner, a guy that can make plays on the football and things of that nature. So we have weapons on this Falcons team galore. And also, you can always lean on that running game with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. So there's a lot of different avenues that the Falcons have if we don't have Drake London or Darnell Mooney in this upcoming matchup. Of course, I do think that Drake London, hopefully he's able to play in this game because we know he's our number one wide receiver. But at the same time, depending on, his whatever happened to that shoulder, depending on what the doctors say and things of that nature, that might keep him out for this game. So, going to be very interesting to see. Now, just to give my quick thoughts when we talk about the Minnesota Vikings. For one, their head coach, Kevin O'Connell, to me is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, one of the best offensive coordinators in the game. If you looked at what he's done with this Minnesota Vikings team since he's been the head coach, he's won Coach of the Year, being their head coach. He was one of those guys that coached Kirk Cousins, who's currently on our roster, but he's been in Minnesota for, I believe, 3 to 4 years now. But it is a really good coach. He's cut off that Sean McVay tree, a guy that runs a familiar or similar offense to what we run here in Atlanta and also what they ran with the LA Rams. So both him and Zach Robinson are cut off of that Sean McVay tree. So they're very familiar with each other. Minnesota, we know that they have one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the game. When you talk about Justin Jefferson, they have a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy in his first year starting, who got injured last year and missed the total season last year. But he is one of those guys that's really young and still a raw talent, in my opinion. So I really feel like he's not on the level of a Baker Mayfield, who he faced in that first game. J.J. McCarthy hasn't seen every defense you can throw at starting NFL quarterback, which will play into the hands of the Atlanta Falcons. But what it's going to come down to in this game is the Falcons have to capitalize on opportunities in this game. When I looked at the first game that the Falcons played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we didn't capitalize when we had opportunities to capitalize. I talked about the calling card for this Atlanta Falcons defense this season was going to be turnovers. We had 0 turnovers or takeaways in the first game. Now, good news, Michael Penix Jr. didn't turn the ball over in the first game at all, and we didn't have any turnovers on our end as well. So it was a pretty clean game on both sides. But the Atlanta Falcons literally dropped. I remember the Falcons, when I went back and watched the game, Caden Ellis dropped probably a pick six on the sideline. Xavier Watts jumped in front of the wide receiver and basically, dropped a clean interception. So we had 2 interceptions cleanly that were in our guys' hands, both hands on the ball, dropped them. That can't happen in this game against the Minnesota Vikings. Late in the game, Caden Ellis, has a sack, has Baker Mayfield wrapped up. Somehow, some way, he's able to throw the ball away on that last drive when they go down and score the touchdown when he throws the ball to Ibuka. Those are the type of plays that you have to capitalize on. And when I talk about our Falcons team, the word that I always talk about is finishing. This Falcons team has to learn how to finish. That's been one of the issues of our Atlanta Falcons for the last, I'll say, five to 6 to 7 years that we missed the playoffs. We haven't been able to finish games properly. We get in position to win games, and I've been saying this all since. Well, I'll say I've been saying this since this season, but even beyond this season is there's 1 or 2 plays in the game that will change the game, and you have to make those plays when they present themselves. And I really feel like that's the biggest issue right now with our Atlanta Falcons. I don't think that this Falcons team, don't have the skill set. It was nothing in that first game that I was alarmed or surprised by. I really felt like the Falcons played well on both sides of the ball. Yes, I thought the play calling on the offensive side of the ball at times were sketchy, and there was some, times where I think Zach Robinson, could have called a better play in certain instances. But outside of that, I felt like Michael Penix Jr. played like a veteran quarterback. He didn't make any mistakes really in that game. He ran when he needed to run. He took his check downs. He threw the ball accurately. He really played almost like a perfect game, especially for it to be the first game of the season without him having any snaps in the preseason. He came out and he looked sharp. The team looked sharp. I know I heard different things about the coaching staff and things of that nature, not having those guys prepared. But personally, I think that the team looked prepared in Sunday's game. I don't think that it was poor coaching. I really feel like the guys looked prepared. They just didn't make the plays when they presented themselves, and that was the difference in the ball game. If you come up with those 2 interceptions that I'm talking about, that takes points off of the board for the Buccaneers, and the Falcons 9 times out of 10 would win that game if you get those 2 interceptions or those 2 takeaways. So I feel like in this game, the Falcons are going to have opportunities with JJ McCarthy. He will throw you the football because, like I mentioned, sometimes he gets fooled by coverages and things of that nature because he's a young quarterback. And if you look at this game against the Chicago Bears last week with JJ McCarthy, he threw a pick six where he stared down Justin Jefferson on an out route, and it was an easy running in pick six by the Bears cornerback where they just the corner drove on the ball, and it was just a late. He threw the ball late on the out route, and we know 9 times out of 10, if you hold that ball, and you hitch up and throw that ball late on the sideline on the out route, and the corner is sitting on it, 9 times out of 10, if it's a solid cornerback, they're going to be able to pick that off and take it back to the house, which happened. So I'm not saying to sleep on JJ McCarthy. He is a capable quarterback. The Vikings did end up coming back in that game and beating the Chicago Bears. So I really feel like they have one of the best play callers, as I mentioned, in Kevin O'Connell, that understands how to make adjustments. They have a really good running back in Aaron Jones, who was with the Green Bay Packers originally and last year signed with the Minnesota Vikings. So they have weapons on that side. They have back Adam Thielen. Good news, they don't have Addison because Addison actually is suspended for, I believe, the first 4 games, if I'm not mistaken, for substance abuse. So he's not going to be in this game. Jordan Addison, who killed us last year, both him and Justin Jefferson made a lot of big plays in last year's game when we played against them when Kirk Cousins returned to Minnesota. So it's time for the Falcons to go back to Minnesota and return the favor. And we have to go back to the scene of the crime and go back and redeem ourselves or get our lick back, as they say. So I'm very interested to see how this game is going to play out. But like I said, I really feel like the Falcons, we have to capitalize. We cannot beat ourselves in this game. And I really feel like that's what hurt us in the first game. We have to give the Bucs their credit because they made the plays when they were presented to them. But I really feel like the Falcons we put our foot in our own mouth in the last game, and we stopped ourselves from winning that game based off of not capitalizing on when the interceptions were there to be made and when turnovers was there. We had opportunities to make plays. They made the play when we didn't make the play. So that's what it came down to in that last game, which we know anytime we play Tampa, usually those games come down to the wire, similar to last year. And one of the games that we won against Tampa last year came down to the wire. But I want to jump right back into the chat really quick and say what's up to you guys. Dre Murphy says, hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? on this Tuesday night. Doing great, man. I hope all is well with you, my brother. I thank you for tuning in as always. And he says, "What was the point of bringing in another kicker when we already got one on the practice squad, though, bro? It makes make it make sense. Patiently wait for you to." Nah, I really feel like in this instance they don't trust Lenny Krieg, the guy that we brought in from Germany, the young kicker. I really feel like he's the guy that they're trying to groom, and then they don't believe that he's ready. So I really feel like that's why they brought in the guy that we brought in today, John Romo. They brought him in to be the kicker because he's a guy that has more experience, especially kicking in the NFL. So I really feel like that was the reason they brought him in. But I would have all three of those guys competing for the starting role, to be honest with you. I don't care that Lenny Krieg doesn't necessarily have experience. I would still be allowing him to kick in practice. I would have a kicking competition between all three guys. And whoever's the most consistent in practice is who I would go with based off of my gut. After I watch those guys kick under pressure, and I would have those guys kicking, 50 yards, 50 yards and then 55 yards and then. And I want to see who can consistently be accurate as far as making the field goals. That's what I would do if I was this coaching staff. I would have those guys competing in practice every single day and make my decision based off of how they look in practice as far as kicking the ball and things of that nature. And Dre says, I thought for sure as heck the Minnesota Vikings were going to lose that game last night, though. Yeah, you never know in the NFL. You always got to watch it to the end. I mean, the other night, Baltimore was up big on the Buffalo Bills. They were up like by 15 points in the fourth quarter, and Buffalo stormed back and won that game. So, if anything we know as Falcons fans, the game is never over, really, in the NFL because all it takes is one miscue, a fumble, an interception. You get momentum on your side, and then it's all downhill from there. And that's pretty much what happened in both of those games. In Chicago's game against Minnesota, the same thing happened on that Sunday night game between the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. King Henry fumbles that ball, gets the ball punched out. Next thing you know, the Bills get all the momentum. They go down and score like 17 unanswered points. That's how it, usually happens. And let's see here. And shouts out to Tony Hall with the red and black in the chat. I appreciate you joining me tonight as well. Like I said, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for your boy if you're new to the channel. And make sure y'all show love. If you want to send a super chat, make sure you send that super chat. You can hit the super chat button. If you would like to donate to the channel, my cash app, everything is Jew Talk Sports. So $ Jew Talk Sports. And Night Whisper says, my boy Jew, what's up, man? I appreciate you joining me tonight as always. And Strapped Up 24 says, what's good, Jew? This will be a revenge game for Penix for what McCarthy did to him in the championship game. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mentioned that early in the show. This is Penix's time to get redemption. Now, of course, that was for a trophy, so he'll never get that trophy back or the ring back. But this is his opportunity. Not only Penix, but this is the opportunity for the Falcons to get their lick back from last year because Minnesota, they did us dirty last year when we went up to Minnesota and Kirk Cousins returned to Minnesota. If you guys remember that game, it was a really good game until Kirk Cousins threw an interception where Kyle Pitts was pretty much streaking wide open down the field, and there was a couple of miscues in that game and turnovers that cost us. Shouts out to my boy Mad Mike. What's going on? I appreciate you joining me as always. Y'all make sure y'all show him some love. And he's one of the members of my channel. So I appreciate you, bro, for supporting me as always and being a member of the channel. And Ali says, what's good, Jew? What's going on, Ali? I appreciate you joining me as well. And y'all can also drop your questions in the chat as well because I want to get you guys' thoughts on the game. Like I said, my early thoughts is that the Falcons, every game is a winnable game for the Falcons because we're a very talented roster and a talented team. We just have to make the plays when they present themselves. Now, I talked a little bit about the Minnesota offense. On the defensive side of things, Brian Flores, former New England assistant defensive coordinator, a guy that was under Bill Belichick for a really long time. a guy that was coaching the Miami Dolphins at one time as their head coach, and now he's in Minnesota. He's a guy that's been around the league for a really long time, a really, really good defensive mind, a very aggressive defensive coordinator. When you talk about being extremely aggressive, he's a guy that's going to throw a lot of exotic blitzes at you, a very old school, hard nosed type coach. So he's going to try to get after Michael Penix in this game and try to make him as uncomfortable as possible. And he's going to give Michael Penix all kind of looks to try to confuse our offensive line and confuse Michael Penix to try to force Penix to throw an interception. Now, good news about Michael Penix is he's a quarterback that's really, really smart and a guy that's played a lot of football, even in college. He's a guy that played a lot of football, so he's wise beyond his years. But he is a gunslinger, and we know that Penix will throw the ball. He's not afraid of the moment. We seen that in this last game against the Buccaneers, where he basically put the team on his back, and he looked really good doing it. In this last game, Penix did everything in his power to put the Falcons in position to win that game. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about Michael Penix. Even if they give us some exotic looks, even if they blitz like crazy in this game, Michael Penix is a guy that'll stand in there and take a hit and still throw a dime. We've seen that in this last game against the Bucks. The Bucks are another team where they like to blitz as well. We know Todd Bowles is another aggressive defensive minded coach, and we've seen Michael Penix stand in the fire and make the proper throws in this last game. So I'm extremely confident in what Penix can do. The only concern that I have is who will be available to play in this game. Is London and Mooney going to be out? Because that could play a huge role in, who we're throwing the ball to, who Penix has to throw the ball to. If he's throwing the ball to backup guys, that's going to make a difference. Now, I still think Penix can still pull it out, but I think we're going to have to rely a little bit more on the running game if we're going to be out out our two top receivers. And Ali says, Coach did say that we would pick up a veteran kicker, and Romo has 91.9 kicking rate. That's actually really good, and we need that. But as Lenny, we still keep. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we're gonna keep Lenny on the squad. He doesn't count against the roster because he's one of those foreign players where they don't count against the 53-man roster. So they're gonna continue to develop Lenny Krieg in the background, but Romo is a guy, yeah, played at Virginia Tech. I did a little bit of did a short video on him earlier about him coming to our team. But when I looked up his stats and things in college, he was 18 of 22 as far as kicking field goals his last year at Virginia Tech University. And he's been a solid kicker in the league as well. He played actually with the Minnesota Vikings, so in 4 games for them in 2024. So he's a solid player. Let's see here. And we're gonna continue to go. And y'all drop y'all questions in the chat as well. And shouts out to Sean. Shouts out to John St. Clair. I appreciate you joining me tonight. He says, "Hey Jew," and everyone on the chat. I appreciate you joining me. I didn't know you was an Oregon fan, John. I see the Oregon symbol, like an Oregon hat that you have on. So shouts out to the Oregon Ducks in college football. Y'all definitely got a lot of uniforms and stuff like that. I definitely like they uniforms and things of that nature. Even though I'm an Auburn Tigers fan in college, but shouts out to John. And let's see. And Dre Murphy says, "Yes, sir, Jew. Michael Penix wasn't even phased with Todd Bowles blitzing though, bro. Yeah, he wasn't phased at all. And that's something that I love about Michael Penix Jr. is he's a guy that'll sit in the pocket, take hits. But what I love about Michael Penix is he looked like a veteran out there on Sunday. Like the moment never looks too big for him. He never's like in a rush or in a panic. And it seemed like he just pressed all of the right buttons. Sometimes being a quarterback and being a great player, you just have to have a feel for it. And to me, Penix has a great feel. When he's in the pocket, if you look at that last play on 4th down, most quarterbacks, if you don't have a good feel and for timing and awareness, if you notice, he hitched one time and he just took off running. Like he knew, okay, on this 4th down, as soon as I see these guys turn their back in man-to-man coverage, I'm going to take off running. If he didn't run immediately, most likely he gets sacked on that play because the pocket was a collapsing immediately on him. So it was like he looked 1 second and he made up his mind. Okay, I need to take off and run. And if he didn't take off when he did, he probably wouldn't have scored that touchdown. So what I like about Penix is just he understands his decision making. You know, being a quarterback, the biggest part about being a quarterback in the NFL and just in general on any level of football is decision making. That's the number one thing that I look for in a quarterback. You can have the best arm in the world, you can be extremely athletic, but if you don't have it between the ears, as they say, up top, above the neck, you know, if you can't think the game, it's going to be hard to win a lot of games if you're not smart. If you just athletic, but you don't understand situations, you don't understand time of possession, you don't understand when to do certain things, when I need to throw the ball, you know, throw a dart, when I need to, you know, loft the ball. You know, you got to know it's different things that you got to know as a quarterback that some quarterbacks just don't have. And that's what Michael Penix has. He has that thing that you can't really put your finger on, but it's like he has that it factor which the great ones have. And that's what I'll say about Michael Penix. To me, he understands the game, and it seems like he always presses the right button at the right time. And in the last game, if I felt like he was complete control of the game, where they weren't speeding him up, he was taking his time. He knew where to go with the football for his hot reads. He had some ill-advised throws as far as like he threw a couple balls where he was trying to throw it down the field and it wasn't accurate at times. But outside of him not being on the same page and him overthrowing his wide receivers and tight ends at times, for the most part, to me, he had his finger on the pulse of the team. He knew on when to run. He knew when to throw it out of bounds. He knew when to take the check down. And that's to me what you look for in a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, is if they're learning the game and understanding the game. Is it wasn't too many times where I was like, what is he doing? Which for young quarterbacks, there are gonna be moments where they're gonna do something and you're like, what were you thinking on this play? Why did you do what you did? And there was not a lot of times where I could say that Sunday about Michael Penix Jr. So I'm encouraged based off of that. And John St. Clair says, "Thanks, Jew. Gotta wear the color sometimes." Hey, that's what's up, man. Like I said, I didn't know you was a Oregon Ducks fan, man. So shouts out to the Oregon Ducks. And let's see. And Dre Murphy says, took care of the rock. Yeah, exactly. That's why I said Michael Penix, he didn't do the number one cardinal sin of any quarterback, which when we had guys like Desmond Ritter, as much as I felt like Arthur Smith didn't give him enough time to develop before they benched him and things of that nature, the one thing that I couldn't deny is what they stated why he got benched. He was turning the ball over. And that's the number one thing that'll make a coach pull their hair out, especially at the quarterback position, is turning the ball over. Because now you're taking points off the board, you're putting the defense on a short field, you're killing the momentum of the team when you turn the ball over. So, I definitely understood that portion of it. But usually with young quarterbacks, you're going to see turnovers. That usually is what happens when you have a young quarterback. So that's why I said Michael Penix is one of those guys that looks like he's going to be the exception to the rule. Based off of that first game and the games that he's even played last year, he didn't make a lot of turnovers. If you look at the games last year with Michael Penix Jr., majority of his interceptions were drop passes. They weren't plays where he actually was the reason that the ball was intercepted, meaning he threw the ball, tried to throw the ball in a tight window and it gets intercepted, or he makes the wrong read. It was rare last year when we watched those last three games. I remember cleanly one of the plays in that Giants game. He threw the ball to Kyle Pitts. He catches the ball and he bobbles it and it goes into the hand of the defender. In that Washington game, he throws the out route. The guy breaks in. He throws it outside and it just throws it right to the corner where he was just trying to anticipate the throw. So those were two out of the three interceptions that he threw, which I believe was at the end of last season, that really weren't his fault. It was just like either a misread, like where him and the wide receiver were not on the same page, or he hit the guy directly in the hands and they drop it and it get picked off. To me, those are not quarterback, those are not on the quarterback. If I throw you the ball and it hit you in the hands and you bobble it, or it pop up in the air off your hands and it gets intercepted, that's not on you. You know what I'm saying? So it was rare where I looked and said, "Oh man, that's just a bad read." That play on Baker Mayfield on Sunday, where Xavier Watts jumped the route and Baker threw it directly to him. Those are the type of plays where I'm like, that was all on Baker. That wasn't on the receiver. That was one of those that he would have had to chalk up because he literally threw the ball. He made the wrong read on that play. So those are the type of the plays I'm talking about where you can clearly say like that's on the quarterback. But let's see here. And Dre says we can't like JJ McCarthy take off and score a touchdown like he did last night. Yeah, JJ can use his legs as well. So we're gonna have to watch out for that on Sunday night football because JJ is athletic as well. He's not gonna, necessarily sit in the pocket and allow the pocket to collapse on him as well. He'll take off and use his legs. He did that a lot at Michigan, and he's another guy that's a mobile quarterback. He'll surprise a lot of people with his athleticism because he doesn't look as athletic as he is, but he's a guy that can make plays with his legs as well. And John St. Clair says that fourth down conversion touchdown was definitely the sign of a leader. Yeah, exactly. That play that he made, I compared it to Space Jam. That's what it reminded me of, seeing him stretch like that. When Michael Jordan at the end of the game, they all jump on him and he stretches all the way out and makes the last bucket. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Space Jam because I still don't know how he kept his knees up and kept his legs extended and still was able to extend the football and extend his body. If you go look at the immediate contact, I think it was Kalijah Cansey that grabbed his ankles or grabbed his legs. I just knew like it's no way he's scoring right there based off of where he was. The contact was made at like the 4 yard line and he just stretched his body. That's called a will to win. Like that was definitely one of those plays where you're like, yeah, this kid is special. To even have the wherewithal to know I can't let my knees touch. I gotta stretch out and just let this ball break the plane. That was just like a big time play. A bit too bad it was in a loss, but he definitely showed us something in that game. Like with his leadership ability and just like I said, his understanding and his awareness. Most people get tackled at the one because they're not aware that, oh man, I got to keep my legs up, keep my knees up. Like that's not only awareness, but that's body control. Most people are not flexible enough to be able to keep their legs up in the air like that. Keep their legs up. Don't let it touch the ground when you're trying to score a touchdown. That was wild. Yeah, that was a crazy play. I still don't know how he did that. And let's see. And John Sinclair says, in your opinion, does the defensive scheme look any different than what we were seeing last season? That's a good question. I actually think it does. There was times where they did drop. If you guys noticed, they dropped like Leonard Floyd in coverage, similar to what we've seen last year. But to me, this year's defense is different because I seen a lot more 5 man fronts. I seen them blitzing a lot more. Where last year we never really seen the team blitzing. I really feel like they did a good job of mixing in some blitzes. The play where Billy Bowman gets the sack on the cat blitz, where he comes as a nickel and sacks Baker Mayfield. Those are the type of plays where we didn't see last year. And to me, the guys were playing a lot more aggressive, a lot more closer to the line, the line of scrimmage. And if you guys go look at the numbers, it's been all over Twitter talking about pressure rate and stuff like that. The Falcons were top 5 in pressure rate last week. So there was a lot of times where they were around Baker Mayfield. They just didn't finish the play. It was a lot of times where I seen Devon Diablo blitz, and was right there, could have made a play, but he gets, picked up, gets chipped by the running back who's blocking him. Like I said, Caden Ellis had an easy sack. He ran down on Baker. It should have been an easy sack. There's no way Caden Ellis shouldn't have been able to wrap him up. He let him go for some reason. Like those are the type of plays where last year I wasn't really seeing a lot of plays where I can say the quarterback was under pressure. Last year to me, the defense just looked soft because everything was corners always playing off the ball, 7 to 8 yards off the ball. No press man coverage. You never really seen us blitz hardly. When we did blitz, it was few far in between. And when we did blitz, it was always the same type of blitz. So it was no exotic guy coming off the edge. Like you seen Billy Bowman come off the edge. We didn't see that kind of stuff last year. We seen us dropping our defensive linemen in coverage, which I seen a little bit of that in this last game. But for the most part, I really feel like this defensive line in the front seven looked a lot more aggressive. Even the corners did a solid job in this last game. As I mentioned, the throws that Baker Mayfield made, you got to take your hats off, to Baker, because Baker is a good quarterback. At some point, we're just going to have to take our hats off and realize Baker Mayfield has turned himself into a good quarterback. He's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He's not the best in the league, but I would say he's top 10 ish, top 15 ish, and that's not too shabby. Like, he's a really good quarterback, and he's a guy that's also a gunslinger, and he's also wise. As much as I talk about, Penix and the way that he made plays in the last game, Baker Mayfield did the exact same thing when he needed to scramble and go get 8 yards, get 9 yards. Those were really the back breaking plays. If you look at the plays that kept the Buccaneers alive in the last game, the back breakers were the Baker Mayfield take off and run plays. If we eliminate those plays in this last Sunday's game, the Falcons win that game, because a lot of the times when Baker Mayfield took off and ran, it was like all on third down, which were chain movers, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. He'd take off up the middle, break contain, break up the middle and get a first down. So I definitely think that the scheme looked different. Now, are they running similar schemes like cover three at times, cover two at times? Of course, you're gonna still see those type of things, but as far as like just saying that the defense looked as poor as last year's team, I don't think so. I think that this defense looked a lot better than last year's defense. And that's for any game that you want to look at. This defense looked a lot better, because I don't see a game like Denver happening this year, where we went to Denver, they blew us out and scored like 30 some points or 40 some points in that game when we went to Mile High before the bye week. That was one of those games where it was just ugly. They did whatever they wanted. They threw screens the whole game. We were playing off the ball, and they was able to just do what they wanted with us. They did what they wanted with us. I don't see that happening in this with this particular defense. I don't see it happening. Not with how Jeff Ulbrich and how Coach Ollie and these guys are coaching these guys up. To me, these guys played really well in last week's game. I didn't see a ton of missed tackles. I didn't see the other team doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. I really feel like in this game, it was a lot of 3-and-outs. The Falcons just didn't capitalize, especially early in the game. The first drive of the game was a 3-and-out by the defense. And there was a couple different times where the Falcons got off the field on third down, which that was the problem with last year's team, is we couldn't get off the field on third down. So I really feel like this defense looked a lot better than last year's defense. But let me jump back into the chat and say see if what other questions we have. And Ali says, yeah, Mike looks good so far, and we will be even better moving forward. The way he reads the play and knows how to strategize in scrambles and short passes speaks volumes. Yeah, exactly. You got to be able to play the game from the neck up. In the NFL, you can't just be supremely athletic and think that you're going to win games. That ain't how it works. That's the reason why you see some guys come to the league and struggle. And you see guys like Tom Brady, who was not a great athlete. But what Tom Brady was great at is he had it, from the neck up. He was one of those guys that was one of the smartest quarterbacks. He knew his hot reads. He knew exactly where he needed to go with the football. At times, he knew how to get the ball out of his hands quick. He knew what his advantages was and his disadvantages was. And he always checked into the right play for the most part, or put his team in the best play, in the best position to be successful. So that's what I seen last week with Penix. To me, if the play wasn't right, he made it right with his legs. So he looked at it, okay, ain't nobody open, I'm taking off. And the biggest problem with some guys is, especially mobile quarterbacks, sometimes they get too caught up in, let me prove that I can throw the ball, instead of using their legs when it's presented to them. Prime example is if you go and look at the last play of, I think it was the Jets and Steelers game last week. Justin Fields had an easy first down. He could have took off and ran, and he was halfway going to run and then decided to throw the ball to the left and got his receiver blew up on that play. Those are the type of plays where you got to realize, like, okay, it's fourth and I think on that play was like 4th and 3 or something like that. He had an easy first down in front of him, could have easily picked up the first down, but he decided halfway through when he took off the run, I'm gonna throw it back, and basically got his receiver demolished on that play. So that's the type of plays where you gotta understand it's a time to run, it's a time to pass, but you got to know when is the appropriate time to do it. And that's why I think separates guys that understand the game, above the neck. They know when to take off, when to run, when to pass. Let's see here. And Dre says, if Drake London is not able to play come Sunday, who do you see them putting in his spot? Madman Hodge, or bring Chris Blair up from the practice squad? Well, I think you will probably elevate Chris Blair, but Hodge will play as well. But I think they're going to have to elevate somebody. If Mooney and Drake can't go, they're going to have to elevate some guys from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. So, but good news is we know we have a bunch of capable wide receivers, and good news we have guys that actually have played in games like Chris Blair. So the moment's not going to be too big for Chris Blair. He's played in real live NFL games. He played in the Washington game last year on Sunday Night Football. So getting out there on a Sunday night on live television, national televised game, that's not going to be the lights are not going to be too bright for him because he's done it before. So that's the good news about having guys you've developed and guys that are on your practice squad that actually have started and played, in games. They're not going to be, the moment's not going to be too big. And let's see. And John Sinclair says, true, Baker was forced out of the pocket a lot. Yeah, he was. Last Sunday, he was forced out of the pocket a lot. He was under pressure. It was just he understood how to get away from it. And that's why I said with J.J. McCarthy, I can't say the same for him because he's a young quarterback. So if the Falcons get that same type of pressure on a J.J. McCarthy, he going 9 times out of 10 throw an interception, or he's going to make a mistake because he hasn't seen every NFL defense yet. He's still a young player. Now, could he still make plays? Am I saying that he's a bad quarterback? No. He's going to have his opportunity to make plays. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some. But what I can say about Baker Mayfield, because he's been in those situations over and over again, he's a quarterback that's not afraid of the big moment. That's how he threw the touchdown to Ibuka. He's not going to be phased by throwing an interception. Baker's not afraid of that. He's dealt with adversity. He's been the first round pick in the draft and got traded from the Cleveland Browns and bounced back. So adversity in the game is not going to phase a veteran quarterback like a Baker Mayfield. Making mistakes is nothing to him. He's gonna go right to the next play and throw it down the field again. He's not gonna bat an eye because he threw a pick or made a mistake. Now I can't say the same for a younger quarterback. Now, good news is JJ McCarthy did show us against the Chicago Bears that he's one of those guys that's resilient as well, because he threw a pick six and then came right back and led his team to victory. So, he is a champion on the college level, and McCarthy is a tough kid as well. So I'm not gonna put it past him. One thing that I can say is the Falcons can't sleep on nobody. We gotta play JJ McCarthy the same way we revere Baker Mayfield. We gotta revere JJ McCarthy because we don't know what the kid is capable of. So I'm not gonna put it past him and say, well, the Falcons are just gonna dominate this game, because guess what? JJ McCarthy technically is not a rookie. He's a rookie as far as playing on the field, but he did, go through those meetings. He was in those meeting rooms last year when they had Sam Darnold playing because he was injured. So he's had, been getting NFL coaching for a full year. So technically, him and Michael Penix, those guys technically are not rookies. They're just rookies because this is their first year starters. But he's been in the league. So JJ McCarthy is more than capable of making plays. I don't want to make it seem like the dude's a bum, because we're going to have to wait and see. We don't know what he is, but he had a good start to his career because he's 1-0. So we'll see what happens Sunday night. And Ali says, yeah, Baker is definitely a top 5 who has a huge respect for. Yeah, Baker's up there. I'm not going to say he's top 5, but I'll say he's top 10-ish, top 15-ish. quarterbacks, but I respect him. He's a guy that has proven that he can make plays. And Dre says, yeah, a lot of people talking bad about Mike Hughes giving a touchdown to a rookie wide receiver, just like they were talking down on D. Alford at Minnesota game last year. Yeah, it was nothing Mike Hughes could have done really in that play when he throws the ball to Emeka Ibuka. It was a perfect dot. It was a perfect throw. It's no defense for a perfect play or a perfect throw. I don't care how good you are. If the ball is thrown perfectly, perfect timing, and it's a timing route, like that was a little, skinny post in cut with no safety help over the top. It was not much that Hughes could have done outside of intercept the ball. He did jump and try to put his hand in there, but it was just like the ball was perfectly thrown. So I mean, I don't know what else we could want, to be honest. And Ali says, hell yeah. Thank God for Coach Ober's defense. While with the Jets, who had a top five defense for the last couple years, he has Salah to thank for that as well. Yeah, Jeff Ulbricht's a good coach. He's a good DC. He was good when he was with the Falcons the first go round with Dan Quinn as far as being our linebackers coach. But he's another guy that was a former player, former linebacker in the league when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. He's a guy that's been around the league a very, very long time. At this point, over 20, 30 years. So, I definitely think Jeff Ulbrich is done a great job with this Falcons defense. And let's see. And Jerry Bowie, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining. He says, what up? And Dre Murphy says Devon Diablo is him. Yeah, I try to tell you guys before the season that Devon Diablo was going to be that guy. I did a whole live over the summer in the offseason where I said Devon Diablo is Deion Jones. That's who Devon Diablo is. He's a Deion Jones type. That's a former safety, quick, agile, taller, and a little bit bigger than a Deion Jones, but he's similar to a Deion Jones, Foye Khan. We know the type of linebackers that Jeff Ulbrich likes is those physical but athletic, linebackers, guys that can actually cover, guys that can run sideline to sideline, but guys that are ultra athletic. And they call Devon Diablo the Avatar for a reason. He showed you on Sunday why they call him the Avatar, because he's a guy that can blitz. He did a good job of, stopping the run. He was all over the field, did a good job of batting down a pass, almost had an interception himself. But the perfect linebacker for this particular defense that we're running, this particular scheme, because he's good in space, because he's a former safety in college, being and playing on the third level in college, it's nothing for him to play on the second level in the NFL because he knows how to read and react. He understands spacing. He understands how to drop into coverage, not to drop too far, and he has a good feel for pass coverage and things of that nature. And Strapped Up 24 says, you think we should try to pick up a vet wide receiver? Great question. So I think the Falcons could actually go in and bring in a veteran, but at this point, they have so many guys that are on the practice squad that are proven that I don't necessarily think they will go out and get a veteran unless they say Drake London's going to be hurt for a really long time and they're like, okay, he gonna be out 6 weeks or something like that, then they might say, well, let's try to trade for somebody or let's try to get somebody else in here. Now, that was another reason why I was really surprised that they let go of a DJ Chark, because DJ Chark is a veteran guy, big body, quick, can take the top off the defense, is a big play guy. I was surprised they let him go because of his experience, but we had so many good wide receivers in training camp. They like Seals, who they recently let go, but they liked him a lot, so they could always bring him back. They got Chris Blair that's on the practice squad. They got Nick Nash that they brought in, as a free agent. So we have wide receivers. I don't know if they're going to want to go for a big splash type guy, like a Tyreek Hill or something like that. Maybe they do that if they say Drake's going to be out for, a big portion of the season with that shoulder injury. Then they could possibly say, look, let's just go for the gusto. Let's go get somebody, that can be a number one. But I don't think that Drake's injury, I don't like to speculate on injuries, but I don't think that it's going to be a 6 to 8 week type deal. Like I don't see him getting put on IR based off of the play that I seen late in the game when he caught the ball and he kind of fell on his shoulder. I don't want to speak for it. Like I said, I haven't heard anything. They haven't said what the doctors have given, what's the diagnosis. But I don't see him being out. This is just my personal me looking at what I saw on the field. I don't know if he injured that shoulder where it's not something he can take a shot and go out there and play like a pain. It's basically be off of his pain tolerance, unless he broke his collarbone or something like that, which they're saying it's a sprained shoulder. I don't see him necessarily being out. It's a lot of different things you can do to still play with a banged up shoulder. And Dre Murphy says, do you think Jalen Walker is Caden Ellis' replacement next year? Though, bro, he could be. He could be. One thing that I was noticing on Sunday with Jalen Walker is because he's like not the biggest guy. He is muscular, but he's not one of the biggest guys when you talk about his height and length and stuff like that. I seen him kind of being engulfed by offensive linemen in Sunday's game, and they was holding him a lot. Him and James Pierce was getting held. And I'm like, come on, refs. I understand, like, as they always say, you can call holding on every play. That's usually what they say about the NFL and about football is holding is subjective. But some of them plays where the Falcons were actually getting pressure, I literally seen a guy just hug Jalen Walker. Like he just hugged him and then let him go. I'm like, come on, man. So I'm like, I don't know if Jalen Walker being a pass rusher on the NFL level, I don't know if that's going to be the best thing for his game, to be honest with you guys. I know it's just one game. I don't like to jump to conclusions and have knee jerk reactions, but I even noticed this in the preseason. Like Jalen Walker is good at rushing the passer, or he was good in college at doing that. But at Georgia, they didn't just have him playing that particular role. He was an off-ball linebacker that was used like a Caden Ellis, like a Swiss Army knife guy that could play on off-ball linebacker, but at times you can put him on the edge and allow him to rush the passer. But him being a full-time pass rusher, I don't want to say he can't do it because I don't want to be that person. I don't like to tell people what somebody can and can't do, but I don't know based off of what I saw. I don't know. Like, I'm not encouraged by what I saw because I don't like, because he's not the tallest guy, he's undersized. I don't like that he was getting held, and it was like you couldn't really even notice it. Like I could notice it, but the refs were letting the guys get away with holding them, and I don't like that. But I really feel like if he was at the off-ball linebacker position, I think he could have more of an impact because now he's on that second level where he can be used more as a blitzer and not necessarily coming off the edge where a defensive tackle that outweighs him probably by a good 50 to 70 pounds can just grab him and hold on to him and hug him or push him down to the. Because there was a couple times where I seen the offensive lineman of the Bucks like just either hold James Pierce, like grab him by the back of their jersey and hold him, either hug him, like just full blown. Like I literally seen one of the offensive linemen just full blown bear hug Jalen Walker, and they didn't call nothing. I'm like, bruh. I mean, what you expect this guy to be able to do? It ain't no pass rush in the move, and no pass rush moves in the world that's gonna stop that. If the dude is gonna be able to just hug you, grab you, especially when you're already undersized like a Jalen Walker. So that's what I'll say about that. I could easily see him being Caden Ellis's replacement at the at the off-ball linebacker position. Because I think right now, and they all might not want to hear this, but just from what I've watched, and I've been watching pass rushers, that's something that I really, really enjoy. I think Caden Ellis right now is a better pass rusher than Jalen Walker. Now, I might be putting my foot in my mouth for saying that because now Jalen Walker might go out there and have 2 sacks against Minnesota. Hopefully, he proved me wrong. But just right now, if I had to choose one of those guys to be a pass rusher, I really think that those guys should be playing reverse roles. I think Caden Ellis would be better at being a pure pass rusher and let Jalen Walker be an off ball linebacker. That's how I personally feel. I like Jalen Walker's game a lot, but I think he will have more success, I think, as a off ball linebacker in the league than he will as an edge rusher, just from what I've seen so far. And Ali says, who do you see more than likely to get a pick this Sunday? Billy, Xavier, Devon, or Caden? Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts in this last game was really, really, really good. Really good. He was in position multiple times to either get an interception. On one of the screen plays, he made a great tackle where he grabbed, shot the gap and grabbed the dude by his ankles, which would have easily been a first down because the Falcons had overran the screen, and Xavier Watts made basically a first down saving tackle. So Xavier Watts, to me, out of all of the rookies, Pierce, Walker, Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts played the best out of all of the rookies this past Sunday because he was in position to make plays. Every time I looked up, I saw 31 making a play. He was in position to make a play. Walker and Pierce, they were actually getting pressure, but they didn't actually make the play. Like they didn't get a sack. So I have to give it to Xavier Watts. The only thing I'll say about Xavier Watts is just hold on to the ball because he had a chance for a pick. And Dre Murphy says, do you know if they brought back wide receiver David Seals? Now, I don't think they brought Seals back. I don't think he's on the roster, if I'm not mistaken. They cut him, but I don't think they brought him back. But they could bring him back because I don't believe he signed with another team. So right now he's just on the street. So he could easily be brought back. Let's see. And Matt Mike says they were getting held like crazy. Refs were trying to groom him. I don't like it. Yeah, I didn't like that. Sunday, I seen that a lot. I'm like, bro, the dude is literally like bear hugging the dude. Like, what he supposed to do? Jalen Walker is good, but I mean, it ain't enough. Like I said, it ain't enough pass rush moves in the world to allow him to get to the quarterback. If you're gonna just let these guys that already outweigh him have longer arms than him, because most offensive tackles, those guys are anywhere between 6'7", and they like them to be between at least 6'7" and about 6'3", 6'4". That's the smallest you'll most see as far as most left or right tackles. Those guys are usually big, long arms, athletic. Jalen Walker is like, I think 6'3", 6'2", 6'2" on a 6'2" or 6'3" on a good day, but he's probably really about 6'2" or 6'1" and like 245 or 250 pounds. So he's going to be outweighed, like I said, anywhere between 50 and 70 pounds. And he's not going to have longer arms, most likely, than an offensive tackle. And he's, the only thing that he can probably do is he might be as strong as them because he's very strong for his size and more, faster than them guys. But as far as like the being held and stuff like that, I'm like, bro, like y'all gotta throw the flag or something. Like it ain't nothing he gonna be able to do if y'all gonna just let these guys hold him, push him to the ground, and then fall on top of him. Like that's to me, I thought that was a penalty. When I seen that, I think that happened like AK on one play. The guy literally just pushed him to the ground, but then like he pulled him down and then he just jumped on his back basically. I'm like, bro, like what you want this guy to do? And Dre says Coach Unchained was saying on his watch party show on Sunday afternoon that we were getting held a lot, but the freaking Zebras wasn't calling it though. Yeah, I've seen it multiple times. I'm like, bro, when I rewatch the game, I'm like, well, they getting pressure, but you ain't gonna get home if they gonna let you if you're gonna let the other team just hold all day. Like, come on. And YMOF Jamal says, Jew, what's good? What's going on, man? I appreciate you joining me as always. And Auntie Pam in the building. What's going on tonight? She says, hello, Jew Talk Sports, and everyone in the chat. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, happy Tuesday. Good evening. And let's see here. And Georgia Red Clay says, yes, he was. Yeah, I'm assuming you're saying he was getting held. Yeah, they were getting held a lot, man. I'm just like, I don't know what y'all want these boys to do. If you're gonna allow these guys to play, let them play. But you gotta throw the flag. Like y'all can't just be overlooking, because one of the plays I think it was that I was watching, because I went back and watched the game. I watched the game like two times. One of the plays I was looking at, it was like on one of Baker Mayfield's scrambles for a first down, the guy literally grabbed James Pierce, like grabbed his jersey. So James Pierce went to like break away from him to try to chase down Baker, and he literally just grabbed him and held on to it like he was holding the back of his jersey. So it's like, well, James Pierce is a fast lineman or outside linebacker, but if you're gonna just let the dude just grab him and hold him, I mean, that's the reason why Baker, in some of those instances where I kind of said that we lost contain and allowed Baker to run for first down, some of those plays, his offensive lineman held the defensive lineman. So it's like, what they supposed to do in that instance if the running, you're gonna let the quarterback run up the middle, and when I go to try to break free from the offensive lineman, they grab and hold on to me. Like, it's only so much I could do in that instance. And let's see here. And Georgia Red Clay says special teams got to do better. What's your thoughts? Yep, you hit it right on the nail on the head, Georgia Red Clay. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Like, the special teams have to be better. It has to be better. Like, you can't have the missed field goals. When plays are there to be made, they have to be made. Meaning not just the special teams, but I've seen way too many dropped interceptions. Caden Ellis dropped clean interception. Xavier Watts dropped clean interception. Like, those are the plays, the small intricate plays in a game where you look back on it and you like, dang, we lost by 3. If we intercept that ball, then chances are the Caden Ellis one was a walk-in pick six. Because they was like backed up, and it was, I believe, the 2-minute drive at the end of the half. Baker just blindly threw the ball towards like an out route towards the outside, and Caden Ellis just read it perfectly, and the ball hit him right in his hands. If he catches the ball, it's nobody out in front of him that's going to stop him from scoring, because he was only like on the 15-yard line, so on day 15. So if he catches that ball, it's a walk-in touchdown. But those are the type of plays that you got to make, because that changes the game. The one that Xavier Watts had where he jumps the route, if he intercepts that ball, that takes points off the board, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown. And when points are at a premium, that game doesn't even come down to Younghoe Koo having to tie it if you intercept those balls. And if you intercept the one with Caden Ellis, you probably go in and score a touchdown on that play. So that flips the game. That's a 4-point swing right there. And let's see. And J Rock says Pennick versus JJ, just like the college championship game. I'm ready for this game Sunday. Yeah, like I said, I think in that matchup, Penix is the better quarterback, hands down. I watched both of these guys play in college. I watched JJ play, or some of the highlights and things of that nature from the Chicago game. JJ is a good quarterback, but I think that Penix is the better quarterback. It's going to come down to who doesn't turn the ball over. It's going to come down to which defense makes the play when it's there to be made. The turnover battle is where I'm looking at in this game. Whoever turns the ball over is going to lose the game. The team that comes away with the most turnovers and capitalizes off of the turnover, meaning you turn it over, I go put points on the board based off of your mistake, that's the team that's going to win the game on Sunday night. That's what it's going to come down to, because that's really what this game against the Bucks came down to. As much as we like, well, it came down to missed field goals. That did cost us the game at the end. But if you make those, as I talk about, those interceptions, and you make the plays on the defense early on in the game, it doesn't even come down to the Younghoe Koo missed field goal if you handle your business earlier in the game. That's why I don't believe in, you know, well, you can't win the game early in the game. Yes, you can. If you make enough plays early on in the game is not nip tuck at the end of the game. So handle your business early and you don't have to worry about it. Just finish plays. At the end of the day, it all comes back to finishing. I keep saying it with this Falcons team. Finishing has been our issue. And finishing is not just the end of the game. Finishing is, if I get my hands on an interception, I have to catch it. If I get my hands on a reception, I have to catch it. Like, you're not going to be perfect, but in this game, we had 0 turnovers. So we dropped every interception opportunity we had. The big sack opportunities that we had, we missed too many opportunities. Caden Ellis, I said it, clean, arms wrapped around Baker Mayfield, you have to make that play. Because that was a play where you didn't get held because you had Baker Mayfield in your grasp, two arms around him, and you let him go and he threw the ball out of bounds on that last drive when Ibuka scored. And that was like on the second down. So that would have put them in like third and long if you make that sack. But he didn't make the sack. He threw the ball out of bounds. So they were still in third and medium at that point. So, that's where the difference comes in the games. And let's see here. And Georgia Clay says, Jew, I hate to say this, but I think we're going to be unstoppable next year. So I'm just enjoying what we got for now. Plus, I got to have speed at wide receiver. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when you say that, Georgia Red Clay, are you saying that you don't think that this team is going to win this year and it's just going to be like this is a developmental year? Or are you just saying that as a general blanket statement? Because I think this team can be unstoppable this year, to be honest with you. I mean, I think next year they're going to be better, of course, because Penix will have a full 17 game slate under his belt. But I don't see nothing stopping this team this year. You still got 16 games left, and based off of what Penix did Sunday, he wasn't the reason you lost the game. And that as they always say, it's a passing league, and you're only as good as your quarterback. Well, our quarterback showed us that he didn't hold the team back. It was everybody else. Penix didn't do nothing in the game Sunday that lost us the game at all. To me, was he perfect? No. But as far as could he have done anything differently that could have won the game for us in the last game? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he played a clean game. So it's going to be up to everybody else to raise their game, their level of play up to where he is. And what's going on, Miss Chrissy? She says, rise up. What's going on? I appreciate you joining me as well. Make sure y'all hit that like button as y'all come in, please. Make sure y'all share out my content. I appreciate y'all. And make sure y'all, share this with not just Falcons fans, but, Twitter, Instagram, all of the platforms. And J Rock says, or if we converted those third down short yardage. Exactly. That's another thing. We got to convert when we have opportunities to convert. And that's why I said that was on coaching. I give that to it. The ones that was mentioned in coaching was the issue. Zach Robinson, those plays where you're in the running draw plays up the middle, out of the pistol and stuff like that, and shotgun, I don't like those plays. Scrap all of them. We don't need none of those plays where we doing a draw play up the middle. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not even a huge fan necessarily of the Warner running in motion and then blocking. I'm not a fan of those type of plays either, where he was like running in motion and then running. Because the reason I don't like those type of plays is because he's trying to block somebody. How can he really square up and block somebody if he's running in motion and then trying to collide? And then it kind of gives away too when he was running in motion which direction you running the ball in, because he's running and then wherever the linebackers and safety started just watching. Okay, wherever Warner is running in motion, that's the side that they getting ready to run the ball to, and they started collapsing. If you go back and watch the game, they basically were just watching Charlie Warner. Anytime he was in motion, okay, he running from left to right. Okay, they getting ready to run to the left. He running left to, or right to left. They was just watching wherever he ran. The line was everybody was collapsing on that spot of the offensive line and the defensive line, the line of scrimmage. So I feel like you'll be better off. And I said this in my post game show, or my review of the game, is get in the I formation or get in the offset I. Whatever you want to do, put him in the backfield. Don't even have him in motion running nowhere. Put him in front of the running back and just let him do his thing, because at least that doesn't give away to the defense whether you're running to the left or to the right. They won't know until the ball is snapped. Okay, Charlie Warner, and at that point, Charlie Warner can square up whoever's in the hole. So if you have your linebacker coming downhill, him and Charlie Warner gonna go head up, and at that point, Bijan and Tyler Algier, let them play off of that, because I feel like both of those guys, Bijan and Tyler Algier, have good vision, so they'll be able to play off that better than what they were doing when they was having him running in motion. I didn't like those particular run plays. I really felt like they was counterproductive. And shouts out to the Ladybirds of AFN. Y'all make sure y'all go show them some love. Miss Christie said the Ladybirds of AFN are in the house. I appreciate y'all joining me. And let's see. Dre says, yes, we got to do much better job on third and shorts and those things. Yeah, and that's something that I mentioned. Third and short, fourth and short. We need to incorporate quarterback sneak. We need to incorporate direct snaps. I don't care. Direct, like I said, run a wildcat. Direct snap it to Tyler Algier and just let him run like a battering ram head first into the line of scrimmage. Let him, or even snap it to Bijan Robinson, because those guys, they have the good vision, great vision, where they'll see where the gap is at. But those east and west type runs, the one we had with Bijan Robinson on the goal line where he ran to the left, it was three running backs in the backfield. They had Tyler in the backfield, Bijan and Charlie Warner in like the diamond, and they tried to run Bijan to the left of the line, and he just ran east and west and tried to score on the, I think it was like on a 3 yard line, 2 3 yard line. I don't like plays like that. When the field is that condensed, you want to go north and south, downhill. If you get stopped, I get stopped. But one thing I want to do is I don't want to stop my own momentum. Running east and west, you're not going to get into the end zone running east and west. That's the quickest way to not make it into the end zone is when you're running sideways. You have no momentum running sideways. And Red Clay says Penix did it great, but he needs to stop letting the play clock go so far down. Your thoughts? Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I think some of the issue is they have to get the play into him early enough for him to do that. Because sometimes I really feel like the play caller slows the quarterbacks down. I hate that. I like that they have the little thing in the quarterback's ear, the mic, where they can hear the coach on the sideline and stuff like that. But what I don't like is if the coach is not getting the plays in quick enough. Sometimes you'll see the quarterback look over to the sideline like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, call the play. And that's what kind of slows things down. So I don't know if it's Penix, because we got to really look at how fast was he getting to the line. Like, I got to go back and look at the game because I don't remember if he was at the line and then standing there for 10 seconds, or was they getting the play into him late and then he's getting up to the line and the clock is running down. So that's what's going to, make the difference. And Carlos, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining me as well. He says, I think we really need that nose tackle to aid in the run game. Yeah, I agree. I do think that we need, I would have liked to see us get like a one tech, but I think we still be okay. I think we'll be okay, but I think that I love to have that one guy that's like 315 to 320, a big guy up front that can just slow things down in the middle. But they want speed and athleticism on this team. So I get it. But, I still think that they did a solid job at stopping the run in this game. We got gashed a couple times, but I really feel like they thinking it's a passing league. This offense is, predicated on scoring a lot of points. The defense is going to be predicated off of pressuring the quarterback and forcing turnovers. But if that's what your defense is going to be predicated on, you better do it. And that's why I said that's why we lost the game against Tampa, because you predicated off of speed, athleticism, and forcing turnovers and being aggressive. But what happens when you don't get turnovers? You get what you got on Sunday. You're in a nip tuck ball game, and the chances are is there's a chance that you can lose, because we know all these games in the NFL, they come down to the last possession 9 times out of 10. So you get into them situations where nip tuck, anything can happen. Because even after Baker threw the touchdown to Ibuka, we still drive down the field and had an opportunity. If Casey Washington catches that ball on the sideline when he gets blown up by Winfield, you're like on the 5 yard line at that point. So they still had a chance where they could actually go for the win. They wouldn't even had to go for a field goal in that instant. So, like I said, it's a catch-22. Like, we had opportunities, we just didn't capitalize. That's why I'm not in panic mode. Like, after watching that game, I was not, concerned by any means. I was not like, well, dang, this team didn't play up to par. I didn't think none of that. I thought, man, we were in position a lot of times, but we just didn't make the plays. I'd rather be in that position than we lose, say we would have lost Sunday 30-7 or something like that, and I'm like, oh man, this team got a lot to work on because I didn't see nothing positive. I seen Penix making some questionable throws. He didn't have no awareness. He was not, he was taking unnecessary sacks, or he was throwing the ball and putting the ball in harm's way. Like, I didn't see none of that. So that's why I say I can't even approach it like a situation where I'm super concerned, because I'm not super concerned after watching the first game. I'm not. The only thing I see like minor tweaks that need to be made. That's it. You make those minor tweaks and you make the plays when they present themselves, you talking about a whole different ball game. And Auntie Pam says it was the play calling. Do you think Zach needs to be on the sidelines instead of the booth? No, I think the Zach Robinson just needs to understand situations. That's his problem. It's like, I don't think it's a problem with him being in the booth, because you can see everything from the booth because you're above everything. So you can, to me, sometimes in the booth you can see better, especially trying to make adjustments, than you can see on the sideline. That's just my personal opinion. But Zach Robinson, to me, he needs to understand how to make adjustments on the fly. To me, he was doing the same run plays over and over again and acting like the Buccaneers are not over there with a scout or with their coaching staff looking at the tablet and saying, okay, when they do this, like I was talking about the Charlie Warner running in motion, they're watching, okay, they watching tendencies. That's what football is. We watching tendencies. Okay, they doing this. Okay. That's how you know how to adjust. They're looking at the tendencies of whatever formations you running based off of what we do. Their adjustments is going to be, if you're a good coach, you're going to make adjustments based off of the tendencies you see. So that's why I feel like he has to change, his play calling at times to, they're watching what I'm doing. So now let me make the proper adjustments on my end, so I'm not tipping them off on what we're doing. So I can't bring Tyler Algier in every time, and every time Tyler Algier run into the game, we running the ball. It has to be some instances where, okay, I run Tyler Algier on the field, they're gonna assume that Tyler Algier is gonna get the ball and I'm gonna run it, but I'm gonna throw a screen pass, or he's just in the game to block. But their assumption, we were doing a lot of different things where, like, anytime Tyler Algier come in, we run the ball, or anytime Warner run in motion, they finna run that direction. Like, you can't do stuff like that because that gives it away. You tipping the defense off, and in the NFL, these guys are too good. You can't tell the other team, I'm getting ready to run it to the left. I mean, that's real crazy. You, unless you just that good. But in the NFL, it ain't many teams that can. It's a reason why you game plan. Let me say it like that. It's a reason why coaches, when they do their press conferences through the week, they say, I can't tell you my game plan. So you don't want to tip off your opponent and hand them your playbook, basically. And Dre Murphy says, how do you think offensive tackle Elijah Wilkinson did? I think he did pretty good, to be honest with you. It was only one play he gave up the sack to Reddick, where he let him cross his face. He got the sack on Penix. I think it was like on the third down. We was in the red zone. That was one of the plays where I was like, man, he got beat bad on that play. And then he had, I think, two false starts. But outside of that, he played well enough for us to win the game. So it was not like a situation where I'm like, oh God, like he played so bad, we need to replace him this week. We got to find somebody that can play that right tackle, or that right tackle position. He played well enough to win, where it was not obvious for me to see like, oh man, we missing Caleb McGarry. Outside of us being able to run the ball consistently to the right side like we normally do behind Caleb McGarry and Lindstrom, that was the only thing I noticed. I really felt like he did a solid job. Like, Penix was only sacked one time in the game. So that should tell you right there. That stat alone tells you that Wilkerson did his job. He didn't get Penix hit in the back of the head because he was his blind side. Penix didn't get hit, get sacked from the blind side a bunch of times. So that tells you that he was doing, or get hit a bunch of times. And J Rock says we was missing Mooney, man. He showed a bit of, yeah, we definitely missed Mooney. Yeah, that's what I said. Mooney is just a great pass, a great route runner. So Mooney's not somebody you can really replace, especially on this team, because I really don't feel like the Falcons have another great route runner on the team outside of Mooney. Like Drake London, he runs good routes, but he's more of a big body guy. So he don't necessarily have to, he doesn't really separate a lot from guys with his routes. Drake is more of a I'm gonna make the contested catch. Same thing with Kyle Pitts. They can run routes, but to me, Mooney's the guy that if you want somebody that's going to separate and make a lot of separation in their catches and take the top off the defense, Mooney offers that. He gives us another dimension or another guy that can do something different outside of the guys that we have, the big bodied guys we have. And let's see. And Georgia Red Clay says they're going to be good this year, but I don't believe in the coaching. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think that this coaching staff is bad. I'm just being honest with you guys. I think last year was bad, but this game they're gonna have to show me tendencies from last year. They're gonna have to show me that they playing 8 yards off the ball. They're gonna have to show me that they don't know how to call timeouts and know when to challenge. And I didn't see this in the last game, so I can't go by off of just last season. I'm giving them a whole clean slate. So this last game, I don't think it was a poorly coached game. Not at least not by Raheem Morris. Was there some plays that we wanted back? I think on the offensive side of the ball and Zach Robinson, yes. But even Zach Robinson, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because it was the first game of the season. So is it fair for me to just be like, you know, you should have had it together and we should I really feel like without the preseason and stuff like that, I can't really come down on them like that. I can come down on them now in this next game because you had time to go back and watch the film and see our shortcomings. But in this game, you really didn't know because you got to realize, okay, you have a new quarterback because Penix was not the starter last year. So the playbook is a little bit different now, which you got Penix that can throw the ball down the field, can make every throw. He's mobile. So this playbook's a little bit different. You can do a little bit more things than you could do with a Kirk Cousins. So you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So that's why I'm sitting with this coaching staff. I don't think that they're a bad coaching staff. I think that we gotta wait and see. And that's what a lot of fans don't like, to be patient. Like, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna just jump and say this a bad coaching staff, they're not a good coaching staff. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. They're gonna have to prove to me that they're not a good coaching staff. And then if they prove it, then I'm gonna speak what I see. I'm not gonna give them no benefit of the doubt after I see it. But right now, it's one game in, and like I said, this team didn't look terrible. Because what if Younghoe Koo makes the field goal? What if the Falcons get the ball first and they go into overtime and they handle their business? Am I still gonna say that they're a poorly coached team? Because Koo missing that field goal, personally, to me was, that doesn't go back to the coaching. That just goes to he missed the field goal. The guys that dropped those picks, that's not on coaching staff. The coaching's job is to put you in position to make a play. And if you're in position to make an interception, like Caden was right in position, Watts was right in position. That means that go back to players. You got to make the play because you were in position. It won't blown coverage. You right there in the perfect spot. So that means it was the right play call because you're in the perfect spot. And that's all you can ask your coaching staff to do is put the guys in the perfect spot to make a play. The stuff I complained about last year was Matthew Judon being one-on-one with a running back running 50 yards down the field. Okay, now that's coaching because you don't got him in position to make a play. He's in no man's land. He's in a bad position. So that's what I'll say about that. And let's see here. And Dre Murphy says, we do a much better job on third down, then we don't have to worry about going for it on fourth down. Dang, exactly. Handle your business early. You don't got to worry about it. And Georgia Red Clay said the coach got to lock in. Wide receiver screens. I'm so sick of that play. It never works. Yeah, I hate wide receiver screens, like the ones that we throw. I hate those bubble screens. To me, it's more bad that can happen than good. I hate those plays. I don't like it at all. Scrap that immediately. The only screens I like are running back screens. That's it. I don't like wide receiver screens. Like throwing them bubble screens out wide like that. To me, it's going to either end up intercepted. It's going to end up with a corner or safety blowing up your guy because 9 times out of 10, somebody's gonna leak through, and that ball takes too long to get out because you're throwing it outside the numbers a lot of the times. And then another thing is, a lot of times in those plays you see a lot of holding calls because the two guys that are in front are trying to block for that one guy that's catching that bubble screen. And majority of the time those plays do not break for big plays. It's more negative that happens than good. So I agree with you. I hate those bubble screens. Running back screens are the only type of plays that I like because they actually work. And you let your lineman get out in front of a running back who knows how to, stay behind his blocks in space. I don't like the wide receiver one, especially when you throwing them to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, two guys that are not elusive. If you're gonna throw a screen, you gotta throw it to somebody that's elusive that can do something with it. Drake is not a guy that's gonna catch the ball and be elusive with it. He's physical. He'll catch it and run downhill, but he's not going to be able to shake nobody. So those were terrible calls. And John Sinclair says, did we have any snaps under center? It seemed we gave our running backs a better chance of success if we do. Am I wrong? No, I agree with you. I personally like being under center. I don't mind the pistol type runs if they're directly behind the quarterback. The ones that I don't like are the ones where you just like the running backs next to the quarterback and he hands it to them because they have no momentum going downhill. I don't mind the running out of the pistol, but if you're gonna run out of the pistol, I like the wide zone type runs where the line goes to the left, or the running back has a head of steam going to the left with the line, or the line is going to the right, and you hand the ball off and they're running the wise, the stretch type plays. The stretch plays work because you have Bijan Robinson, who's a guy that can cut. He knows how to use those cutback lanes. So those wide stretch zone type plays, those plays actually work, but you got to know how to run it. To me, it was too many plays where the running backs were stagnated. They didn't, it was hard, and that's why you didn't see a lot of big runs Sunday. You didn't see a lot of big runs Sunday because they were not the right running plays. Them little draw ISO up the middle, that don't work. Them plays scrap them, that don't work. And I'm about to get ready to wrap it up, but I appreciate you guys dropping the questions. I might ask one more question. Let me see here if I can get somebody a question that I haven't gotten yet. Let's see. And Georgia, red Clay says we gave the game away. I agree with you. We had opportunities. And Dre the Boxer, what's going on, man? I didn't see you. I just noticed you was in here, man. Shouts out to you. I appreciate you joining me. Yeah, I got so many questions. I'm trying to scroll down. Make sure y'all hit that like button for your boy while y'all in here. I see it's still 25 of y'all in here, so please hit that like button. Hit that sub button if you're new to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. But Dre the Boxer says, them boys went life and death with the Bears. I'm still kind of nervous because of our OC, but this is actually a lighter opponent than the Bucks, aside from the pass rush. Yeah, exactly. The Bucks, I don't think are as good as a defense as Minnesota. I think Minnesota's defense is better as far as like their front seven. But in their, I like their coordinator a little bit better with Brian Flores, but I think the Bucks has a better offense. They have a better Baker Mayfield is much better than JJ because JJ's super young, and then they have better wide receivers currently. When you talk about their totality of their wide receiving core, when Minnesota is fully healthy, they can go player for player because they have Justin Jefferson, they have Addison. But with them being without Addison, Thielen is still a guy who can make plays, but Thielen is long in the tooth. He's a little bit older now, so he's not the Thielen of old that can run by you necessarily. He's more of a possession receiver, and they have Hawkinson, so they just as skilled. But I think that the Bucks is deeper at wide receiver because they got Abuka now, they got Mike Evans, they got Godwin, they got Cade Otton, they got McMillan who didn't play in that game. You know, they're just as deep. They probably go a little bit deeper than Minnesota when you talk about wide receiver core, but Minnesota's right there with them too. I just think they don't have a guy pulling the trigger. They don't have a Baker Mayfield yet. At least I don't think JJ's on that level yet, as far as him understanding and reading defenses and stuff and knowing where to go with the football. And Dre the Boxer says true defense look night and day. Yeah, the defense look better. I don't care what nobody say. Don't let I don't care what nobody say. The defense didn't look like last year. The defense didn't look bad. They were actually getting pressure. They were actually, like I said, they were being held, but they were getting pressure. When you got a 40% pressure rate, that's good. Baker's just a guy that understands. He's a veteran. He knows where his hot reads are. He's not afraid to stand in there and get hit in the mouth and make an accurate throw. And he was out there throwing dots. We got to give Baker his respect. That, like I said, that pass to Abuka at the end was a dot. It wasn't nothing Mike Hughes could have did. It was just a dot, period. But with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up, man. But I appreciate you guys joining me tonight, man. Make sure you guys, like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for your boy. Of course, I'm gonna be giving you guys the live shows every Tuesday nights. So join me for every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time for Tuesday nights. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, look for us tomorrow night, the Heavy Hitters live channel. Me, your boy Mad Mike, K Styles, and the Don. Y'all definitely go up there and join us tomorrow as we give our keys to victory and things of that nature for the Minnesota game. I kind of gave you guys my preview of this Sunday night matchup. It should be a very intriguing game, but this is our opportunity on a standalone stage to put the NFL on notice that this isn't the same Falcons team. Go into Minnesota and get a big win. I think the Falcons go up there and do it. I really feel like this team is different. I do think that this team is a lot better than last year's team, just in depth and just all around. I think that Penix is a better quarterback at this stage than Kirk Cousins at this point in his age, him being on the back end of his career. So we're going to definitely see what, this game, what it entails. But I'm going to have a lot more content coming for you guys as always. So make sure you guys look for content. I try to give you guys content daily. So make sure you come to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you'll know when I'm live or when I just drop the video, because I try to give you guys content on a day-to-day basis of Falcons content, NFL breaking news and things of that nature, but mainly Falcons content. So now that the season is in full swing, we definitely gonna have a lot to talk about. So with that being said, this been your boy Jew. Y'all enjoy your night, enjoy the rest of this week, and look forward to that victory bell coming out on Sunday night, because I definitely think that these boys are gonna get us to 1-1, get us back in the thick of things when you talk about this division and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, as always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.